Alright, welcome back everyone to another video, and in this one we are continuing with the uh, cheapest thin client on Amazon series, I guess, and sort of closing this out for now, and we'll see if anything interesting comes up. But as you can see, I've done some mods. This is the same board that I showed in one of my previous videos, and I will go through the modifications there are. We already talked about the UART modification, so you can see we have our UART attached there. And then if we move a bit more down here, you can see here's what the new stuff is. um, so yeah, so this thing had the PCB pads for an SD card slot, a micro SD slot, and eight. So there's no external chip required. The Allwinner A10 has an interface for it on the sock, and the bootloader supports it. And the other thing was the NAND flash is always a dicey thing to play with. The Linux support is kind of weak, feeble, um, untested, something weird. Like, it's not, NAND is not a very good thing to play with. That's why the world moved on to eMMC. So anyways, it had an SD card slot. I couldn't find, so it's the same SD card, sort of a socket that is at the end of the ribbon cable, but I couldn't desolder that. Again, I kind of wanted to preserve it as well, but I couldn't desolder that, and I had no other way to attach a SD card to it, and I didn't want to do this mess to an actual SD card. So I took the SD card, the micro SD card extender here that I've shown. I've shown this on different um, another video previously, but this is a PCB in the shape of a SD card with the SD card pinouts, and then there's a ribbon cable which extends to an actual SD card slot, actual micro SD card slot. So that I've just taken that and wired it up. Took me a while. I tried using the enamel coated wire. That didn't work. That's to find the one that I have, and then soldering so many wires so close together is always sort of strain in the eye. So yeah, I ended up doing it, and the surprising part, it actually works just well. So in the previous video we saw that the DTB that it used was called CB.DTB in U-boot. Now that made me think that this might be somehow related to a QB board. So I went ahead and flashed the QB board Armbian image to the SD card, and lo and behold, let's see, it actually boots. So I have my capture card here, that's the blank screen, and I have the terminal here. So we'll quickly go into the terminal, and once it's off of U-boot and trying to load the kernel, or actually because U-boot shows itself on HDMI as well, we can see that. So we'll just go through the basic bootloader on the terminal, and then I'll quickly switch over to the HDMI card so that you guys can see all of that. So but first let's just add in all our peripherals. The UART connector here, that's done. We will need HDMI, which is right there, and then power. So as soon as I plug power, it should show up. So I am enabling the screen capture, and I'll set that to picocom, and let's power this bad boy up. So as you can see, it has gone into U-boot, and from there I can actually enable capture over HDMI, and you can see it's like U-boot on HDMI works fine. It starts the kernel. Yeah, and then it just starts booting. Debian 10 Buster, Linux kernel 5.4. So again, there's not much modification on the software side that I did. It's just that. So a couple of things. It may be that the sock itself is simple, that there's not much things to mux around, and whether it's a DTB of the QB board, it's the DTB of this particular board, or anything else that runs the A10 chipset. It's perhaps like just the same PCB layout at the end of the day, not the physical one, but like electrically it's just the same layout, and it doesn't really matter. The sock is that simple to work with. So yeah, right now I don't have much installed, so I'll actually move to the serial here, and we will log in. And as you can see, it shows up as a QB board, which is not, but Linux 5.4 and the rest of the things you can see. And also install some GPU benchmarks and a desktop, because it should actually work as the Lima driver. So if you gets detected, so if I select D message and then grep Lima, you can see that the Lima driver is actually up. So yeah, let's do that. Let's plug in networking, and again networking is now safe because I'm running a more updated and newer kernel, and something that I can trust enough to have it connected on my network. And so I've added the Ethernet jack, and if you guys can see here, the Ethernet is in. um, there you go, there's the Ethernet, and if I do an IPA, it should give me my current IP, well, my local IP. You guys won't be able to see my current IP, so we can do a simple sudo apt update and sudo apt disk upgrade. This will probably be slow. I'm not sure how the CPU handles it. So it's not a dual core Cortex A9, as you know, as the firmware, as the original firmware suggested. It's a single core Cortex A8. So yeah, just waiting it to complete the flash, and we will then proceed to install LXDE. And all right, so the update is done, and I just plugged in the wireless keyboard, which should work now since we're running a latest kernel. So yep, that responds just fine. And apparently I don't know how to type. So there's no really need to reboot actually, so I won't. And yeah, you can see the output here. It's kind of weird because I think they chose a very small font, and that's messing up. But let's go ahead and then install the LXD desktop and Zenit, and let's see what else. GL Mark II, if the repos have it. What does it say? No GL Mark II. Okay. Mesa demos, utils, something. Oh, that's a long list, and might as well add Open Arena to it. We'll have some fun here. All right, let's do this, and I'll see once it's all is over. All right, so with that done, let's see. Xnet rc, and then we add exec start lx de here, and that should be that. Move on to the edge of my screen, Control C, and then start X, and wait and watch, and hopefully something loads up, which it looks like it's trying to do. Hopefully soon. I mean, it's not the most powerful board in the world, but it works pretty well. So I have high hopes for this one. And there we go. So it's running something. Yeah, the mouse is does not feel very smooth, so it's struggling with the UI. But anywho, let's open LX terminal and increase the font a bit. Let's see, something that we can work with. Make that a bit larger font. And so if we have GLX gears and we add info to it, they should say Lima. Let's see where it is. Nope, it does. It says LLVM, which is very not good. Maybe what's the Mesa version? 18. Yeah, so it's running a very old Mesa version. So that might be it. Um, that's bad. I was hoping to get some Lima driver action, but it looks like it's running a super old version of Mesa. So the next idea for me is to actually load in Fedora on it, and from there we can proceed with booting Fedora, because I know that will have all the drivers right now. So I'll go download Fedora 32 and we can go from there.